The Great Chamber of the Galactic Council was the largest structure ever built by intelligent life. It floated in the empty space between three galaxies, and inside it, representatives from nearly 2,000 species gathered to decide the fate of worlds. Today, they had gathered to decide the fate of Earth. Representative Dohan stood in the observation gallery reserved for humanity. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served as Earth's voice in this chamber for 15 years, and in all that time he had never seen the elder races so united. They were united against his people. The charges against humanity filled thousands of pages. Humans expanded too quickly. Humans adapted too easily. Humans asked too many questions and accepted too few answers. Humans did not know their place. Dohan knew these were not the real reasons. The real reason was simple. The elder races were afraid. Humanity had joined the galactic community only 300 years ago. In that short time, they had built colonies on 40 worlds. They had created technologies that rivaled species millions of years older. They had solved problems that others had abandoned as impossible. And they had done all of this while smiling and asking what came next. The Velthari delegate rose to speak. He was a creature with 4 eyes and skin like blue stone, and his people had traveled between stars when humans still lived in caves. Humanity is a threat to galactic peace, he declared. Their aggression knows no limits. Their ambition has no end. If we do not act now, they will consume us all. Dohan wanted to laugh. Humanity had never started a war with another species. They had ended several. They had never stolen technology. They had shared it freely. Their only crime was being too good at everything they tried. The vote began. One by one, the species cast their decisions. The holographic display above the central platform showed the count rising. In favor of banishment? In favor of banishment? In favor of banishment. When it was finished, the numbers floated in the air like a death sentence. 1,847 species had voted to banish Earth. 12 had voted against. 41 had refused to vote at all. Humanity was now in exile among the stars. The terms of banishment were harsh. Humans would return to their home system and stay there. Their colonies would be seized. Their ships would be impounded. Their technology would be restricted to what the Council approved. They would be allowed no contact with other species without supervision. Dohan received the official document on his tablet. He read it once, then turned it off. He did not bother to argue. He did not bother to appeal. He simply walked out of the chamber and boarded his ship. As his vessel jumped to faster than light speed, he sent a single message to Earth. It contained only 3 words. They have voted 6,000 light years away. Admiral Yuna received the message aboard the United Earth naval ship Resolve. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for being impossible to surprise. Today, she was not surprised at all. She had known this day would come. They all had. Yuna gathered her senior staff in the war room. Captain Taiwu arrived first. He was her second in command, a quiet man who thought 3 moves ahead of everyone else. Chief Engineer Bora came next, still wiping grease from her hands. She could build anything from anything, and she had been preparing for this moment for years. Strategic Officer J.A. arrived last. She was young but brilliant, and she had written the plan they were about to use. The Council has voted to banish Earth, Yuna said. The terms are total confinement to our home system. We have 30 standard days to comply. 30 days, Taiwu repeated. That is generous of them. They expect us to negotiate, J.A. said. They expect us to beg for better terms. They think we will do anything to keep our colonies. Will we? Bora asked. Yuna looked at each of them in turn. No, we will do what we have planned to do since the day we realized this was coming. She pressed a button on the console. A single coded message went out to every human ship, every human colony, every human outpost in the galaxy. It traveled through official channels and secret ones, through public networks and hidden relays. Within 1 hour, every human being in the galaxy had received it. The message was simple. Operation Exodus is active. You know what to do. On 40 colony worlds, humans began to move. They did not panic. They did not cry. They worked with calm efficiency, as if they had practiced this 1,000 times. Because they had, on Kepler Station, the largest human trading post outside Earth system, Director Minho watched his people pack up their lives. Equipment was loaded onto ships. Data was transferred to secure cores. Buildings were stripped of anything useful. His assistant, a young woman named Sujin, approached him with a tablet. "The galactic observers will arrive in 6 hours," she said. "They will want to see us leaving." "Then let them see empty buildings," Minho replied. "By the time they arrive, there will be nothing left to observe." Sujin smiled. "And after that?" "After that we vanish." On the Council's capital world, the Velthari delegate who had spoken so strongly against humanity was celebrating. He raised a glass of expensive wine and toasted his fellow representatives. "Today we have saved the galaxy," he announced. "The human problem is solved." He did not notice that the human ambassador had already left the station. He did not notice that every human ship in the system had quietly departed. He did not notice that humanity had not sent a single message of protest or appeal. He would notice soon enough. Moral. Yuna stood on the bridge of the Resolve and watched the stars. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Council was congratulating itself on a job well done. They thought they had contained humanity. They thought they had put the young species in its place. They had no idea what they had just unleashed. "Admiral," Taiwu said, "all ships report ready. All colonies report packed. All personnel report prepared for transit. Time to departure?" 4 hours. Yuna nodded. 4 hours. In 4 hours, 3 billion human beings would vanish from the known galaxy. They would leave behind empty worlds and unanswered questions. They would leave behind fear. "The Council gave us 30 days, she said quietly. "We will give them 30 years of silence. And when we return, they will understand what a terrible mistake they made today." She turned to her crew. "Begin Operation Exodus. Take us home." The Resolve jumped to faster-than-light speed, and the stars blurred into lines of light. Behind them, 40 worlds full of humans did the same. The Galactic Council had voted to banish Earth. Humanity did not wait to be told twice. The galactic observers arrived at New Sol Colony expecting to find humans packing their belongings. They expected to see sadness. They expected to see anger. They expected to see a defeated people preparing to abandon their homes. Instead, they found nothing. The buildings were gone. The roads were gone. The farms were gone. Even the trees that humans had planted were gone. The world looked exactly as it had before humanity arrived, a barren rock with thin atmosphere and empty plains. The lead observer, a Kethrani scientist named Voss, scanned the surface 3 times. His instruments found no trace of human presence. No metal, no plastic. No organic residue, nothing. "This is impossible," he said. "A colony of 2 million people cannot simply vanish." But it had? And so had all the others. On world after world, galactic observers found the same thing. Empty planets. No humans, no equipment. No explanation. It was as if humanity had never existed beyond Earth at all. The Council demanded answers. They sent ships to Earth's solar system to confront the humans directly. The ships arrived to find something that made the vanishing colony seem ordinary. A barrier of energy surrounded the entire system. It was not a wall or a shield in any traditional sense. It was something else entirely, something that bent light and matter and sensor readings in ways that should not be possible. Ships that approached it simply stopped working. Their engines died. Their computers failed. They drifted helplessly until rescue vessels towed them away. No one could get in. No one could see inside. Earth had sealed itself away from the galaxy on the Council's capital. Ambassador Hyan was the last human remaining outside the barrier. She had stayed behind to deliver a message, and now she stood before the assembled representatives with a calm smile on her face. "Where have your people gone?" The Velthari delegate demanded. "What have you done with your colonies?" "You told us to leave," Hyan said. "We left, but where?" Our sensors cannot find a single human vessel anywhere in the galaxy. Your homeworld is hidden behind a barrier we cannot penetrate. Where are 3 billion human beings? Hyan tilted her head slightly. That sounds like a you problem. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives shouted questions and accusations. Hyan waited for them to quiet down before she spoke again. The Galactic Council voted to banish Earth. We have complied with that vote. We are gone. What more do you want from us? We want to know where you are, another delegate said. We want to know what you are planning. No, Hyan said simply. You want to control us? You have always wanted to control us. That is why you banished us in the first place. We were too successful too quickly and you could not stand it. She looked around the chamber at the thousands of representatives watching her. You called us dangerous. You called us a threat. You were right. But you made a mistake. You thought that banishing us would make us less dangerous. Instead, you have set us free. She turned and walked toward the exit. At the door, she paused and looked back. You will hear from us when we are ready. Until then, I suggest you learn to solve your own problems. Then she was gone. In the space between spaces. Humanity was building a new home. Dr. Sujin had spent 40 years developing fold space technology. It was her life's work, her obsession, her gift to her people. Fold space was a dimension that existed alongside normal space, invisible and undetectable to anyone who did not know how to look for it. The elder races had no idea it existed. They had never even imagined it. Now 3 billion humans lived there. The transition had been planned down to the smallest detail. Ships carried people and equipment through carefully opened gates. Colonies were not just evacuated, but completely dismantled, every building and tree and handful of soil taken along. Nothing was left behind for the Galactic Council to study or learn from. Director Minho oversaw the construction of humanity's new civilization from a command station that floated in an engineered nebula. Stars that humans had created themselves provided light and energy. Planets that humans had built from raw matter provided land and resources. Status report, he said to his assistant. Sujin pulled up the numbers. All colonies successfully transferred. Population is stable. Resource production is ahead of schedule. The new fleet construction has begun. How long until we are ready? For defense? We are ready now. Our technology is already beyond anything the Council has. For what Director Wusung is planning? She paused. 5 years at minimum. Minho nodded. 5 years. It was a long time to hide. But it was also a long time to prepare. Fleet Commander Wusung was a large man with a loud voice and a mind for war. He had never liked the restrictions that the Galactic Council placed on human technology. No weapons above a certain power. No ships above a certain size. No research into certain fields. Humanity had followed these rules for 300 years. And Wusung had hated every moment of it. Now there were no rules. Show me the new designs, he said to his engineering team. They showed him ships that could bend space around themselves, becoming invisible and untouchable. They showed him weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics in a localized area, turning matter into energy and energy into nothing. They showed him shields that existed in multiple dimensions at once, impossible to hit because they were never fully in any single place. These were all forbidden by council law, the lead engineer said. We had the theories. We had the blueprints. We just were not allowed to build them. And now? Now we can build anything we want. Wusung smiled. It was not a kind smile. Then build everything. I want a fleet that can take on the entire Galactic Council and win. I want weapons that will make the elder races weep. I want humanity to return to that galaxy as gods. The engineer nodded. Yes, sir. 5 years? 5 years. Back in normal space. The Galactic Council was beginning to realize how much they had depended on humanity, trade routes that had passed through human systems, now had to curve around the mysterious barrier. Journeys that once took days now took weeks. Goods that were once cheap became expensive. Economies that were once stable began to shake. Worse, the technology that humanity had shared with other species began to fail. Medical devices stopped working. Communication systems went silent. Transportation networks collapsed. Every piece of human technology had been connected to human-maintained networks, and those networks no longer existed. They planned this, Counselor Jisoo said during an emergency session. They were never going to remain under our control. They were always planning to leave. Then why did they stay so long? Another counselor asked. Jisoo looked at the reports in front of her. 300 years of humanity in the galactic community. 300 years of trade and diplomacy and shared technology. 300 years of humanity watching and learning and preparing. They were studying us, she said quietly. They were learning our weaknesses. And now they are going to use that knowledge against us. The chamber fell silent. For the first time, the Galactic Council understood what they had done. They had not banished a troublesome young species. They had created an enemy, and that enemy was out there. Somewhere, in a place they could not find, building weapons they could not imagine. Planning a return they could not prevent. The galaxy held its breath and waited for humanity to come back. 5 years of silence nearly destroyed the Galactic Council. It began with small things. Trade disputes that humanity had once mediated now turned into shouting matches. Border disagreements that human diplomats had once resolved now turned into military standoffs. Old grudges that had been buried for centuries came back to the surface. Hot and bitter and ready for blood, the Kethrani and the Voss went to war over a mining system that both claimed. The fight lasted 8 months and killed 4 million people. When it was over, neither side had won, and the mining system was too damaged to use. The Zealoth Collective collapsed into civil war when 3 factions disagreed over resource distribution. Human economists had designed their distribution system. Without human support, it failed within 2 years. The Roshani Plague, a disease that human doctors had contained a century ago, returned with new strength. It spread across 40 worlds before anyone could stop it. 18 million died. Counselor Jisoo read the reports every day, and every day they were worse. She was a tall woman with white hair and a face that showed every year of stress. She had served on the Council's monitoring committee for 30 years, and she had never seen anything like this. "We are falling apart," she said to her fellow counselors. "Without humanity, we are falling apart." They were just one species, the Velthari delegate said. "We have nearly 2,000. We do not need them. Then why is everything failing?" Jisoo demanded. They were everywhere. They were in our trade networks, our diplomatic systems, our medical research, our technology development. They were the glue that held us together, and we did not even realize it until they were gone. The delegate had no answer for that dot in fold space. Humanity was thriving. Cities floated in nebulae that glowed with the light of artificial stars. Children played in parks on worlds that had been built from nothing. Scientists explored questions that the Galactic Council had forbidden them from even asking. Artist Yunbi spent her days painting landscapes that could not exist in normal space. She captured the way light bent around fold space anomalies, the colors of engineered nebulae, the strange beauty of a dimension that humanity had made their own. Her brother, Sang-hoon, composed music using frequencies that did not exist outside fold space. His symphonies were played in concert halls that floated among the stars, and humans wept at the beauty of sounds they had never heard before. "Do you miss it?" Yunbi asked him one evening. "Normal space." "The old colonies, Earth." Sang-hoon thought about it. "I miss the sky. Fold space does not have a proper sky. But I do not miss being afraid. I do not miss being told what I could not do. We will go back someday." "Yes, but not as refugees. Not as exiles." He looked at his sister with serious eyes. "We will go back as conquerors." Admiral Yuna had been promoted to Supreme Commander of the Unified Human Fleet. It was a title that had not existed before the banishment. Now it was the most important position in human civilization. She stood before the assembled military leadership in a war room that existed in fold space. Around her were the captains and admirals and generals who would lead humanity's return to the galaxy. "Intelligence report," she said. "What is happening out there?" Captain Tewu stepped forward. "The Galactic Council is fracturing. 3 major wars in the past 2 years, 17 minor conflicts. Economic systems are failing across all sectors. The elder races are blaming each other, but they all know who is really responsible. Us, yes, they banished us thinking they were cutting out a disease. Instead, they cut out their own heart." Yuna nodded. She felt no sympathy for them. They had voted to banish her people. They had voted to take their homes, their ships, their freedom. Now they were learning what life without humanity looked like. "Do we intervene?" asked General Kyung. He was an older man who remembered Earth before first contact, before humanity knew they were not alone in the universe. "No," Yuna said firmly. "They wanted to see what the galaxy looked like without us. Let them see it a while longer. People are dying out there. People died because of their vote too. Human colonists who lost their homes. Human children who lost their futures." Yuna's voice was hard. "They made their choice. Let them live with it." She turned to Fleet Commander Wusong. "Status of the new fleet?" Wusong grinned. It was the grin of a man who had been given everything he ever wanted. 90% complete. 200 capital ships, each one more powerful than anything the Council has. 1,500 support vessels. Weapons that will make them think their gods have turned against them. Time to full readiness? 6 months. Yuna allowed herself a small smile. Then we wait 6 months. After that, we return. Back in normal space, the Council was desperate for answers. They sent probes to the barrier around Earth's system. The probes were destroyed. They sent diplomatic ships with messages of peace. The ships were turned away. They sent spies disguised as merchants. The spies disappeared without a trace. "They are in there," Counselor Jasu said. 3 billion humans behind that barrier. What are they doing? No one knew. And that was the most terrifying thing of all. The Velthari delegate, who had led the vote to banish humanity, could not sleep anymore. Every night he lay awake thinking about the humans and what they might be planning. He had called them dangerous. He had called them a threat. He had believed that banishing them would make the galaxy safe. Now he was not so sure. He remembered the human ambassador's last words. "You will hear from us when we are ready." What did that mean? Ready for what? He tried to tell himself that humanity was no threat. They were confined to their home system. They had no fleet, no colonies, no allies. Even if they did return, the Galactic Council had thousands of ships and millions of soldiers. What could one species do against that? But he could not shake the feeling that he had made a terrible mistake. Humanity had vanished too easily. They had complied too quickly. They had not begged or negotiated or appealed. They had just smiled and left. That smile haunted his dreams. In fold space. The final preparations were underway. Engineer Bora personally inspected every ship in the new fleet. She checked every system, every weapon, every piece of technology. This fleet would announce humanity's return to the galaxy. It had to be perfect. "Ma'am," her assistant said, "we have received word from the observation posts. There is a situation developing in normal space." "What kind of situation?" "The Velthari homeworld. They are under attack." Bora stopped what she was doing. "Under attack by whom?" "An AI swarm. Remnants of an ancient war. It has awakened and it is consuming everything in its path. The galactic fleet is scattered. They cannot respond in time." Bora was quiet for a moment. The Velthari had led the vote to banish humanity. Their delegate had called humans dangerous and aggressive. He had said they would consume the galaxy if not stopped. Now his people were about to be consumed by something far worse. "Notify Supreme Commander Yuna," Bora said. "Tell her it is time." "Time for what?" Bora looked at the fleet around her, 200 ships of impossible power, waiting to be unleashed. "Time to remind the galaxy why they were afraid of us?" She smiled. And it was not a kind smile. and time to show them they were not afraid enough? The distress call from the Velthry homeworld reached every corner of the galaxy. It was a sound of pure terror, a plea for help from a species that had never asked anyone for anything. The ice swarm had come from nowhere. It was a remnant of an ancient war, a weapon built by a species that had died 1,000,000 years ago. It had slept in the dark spaces between stars, waiting. Now it was awake and it was hungry. The swarm did not negotiate. It did not demand surrender. It simply consumed. Ships, stations, cities, people, everything organic, everything technological, everything that existed. The swarm took it all and used it to make more of itself. The Velthry fleet fought bravely. They were an old species with powerful ships and experienced crews. They had won wars against enemies that most species could not even imagine. But the swarm was different. The swarm could not be beaten. For every ship they destroyed, the swarm made 10 more. For every weapon they fired, the swarm adapted and became immune. The Velthry were losing, and they knew it. "Galactic Council, we need immediate assistance," the Velthry commander broadcast. "The swarm is approaching our homeworld. We have 6 hours before it reaches orbit. If it is not stopped, 12 billion of our people will die." The council received the message and did nothing. They wanted to help. Many of them genuinely wanted to help. But their fleets were scattered across the galaxy, dealing with the wars and crises that had erupted since humanity's banishment. They could not reach the Velthry system in time. Counselor Jasoo watched the tactical display in horror. She saw the swarm growing larger with every passing minute. She saw the Velthry ships dying one by one. She saw a civilization about to be erased from existence. "There must be something we can do," she said. "There is nothing," another counselor replied. "Our nearest fleet is 3 days away. The Velthry will be dead by then." Jasoo closed her eyes. This was what the galaxy looked like without humanity. This was what they had voted for. Then the barrier around Earth's system vanished. It disappeared without warning. One moment it was there, an impenetrable wall of impossible energy. The next moment it was gone, and Earth's solar system was visible again, but that was not what made the galaxy. Stop and stare. What made them stare was the fleet. That came out. 200 ships emerged from. Fold space around Earth. They were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were sleek and beautiful and terrifying. They bent light around themselves like cloaks. They moved without visible engines. They radiated power that made sensors scream warnings. At the head of the fleet flew the UENS Dawn, the largest and most powerful ship humanity had ever built. And on its bridge stood Supreme Commander Yuna. She opened a channel to the entire galaxy. "This is Supreme Commander Yuna of the Unified Human Fleet. We are aware of the situation at the Velthry homeworld. All vessels in the system, clear the area immediately. We will handle this." The Galactic Council could not believe what they were hearing. The Velthry commander could not believe what he was seeing. The swarm could not believe anything because it was a machine. But if it could have felt surprise, it would have felt it now. The human fleet jumped to the Velthry system in a single instant. No charging of drives, no calculation of routes. Just there, and then here, as if the distance meant nothing. Supreme Commander Yuna looked at the swarm on her tactical display. It was massive, a cloud of machines that covered half the system. It had destroyed civilizations that existed before humanity learned to walk upright. "All ships," she said calmly, "begin attack pattern sunrise. Let us show them what we have been doing for the past 5 years." The battle began. The human ships moved like nothing the galaxy had seen before. They flickered in and out of normal space, appearing behind the swarm's formations, firing weapons that turned matter into light, then vanishing before the swarm could respond. The swarm tried to adapt. That was what it did. It analyzed enemy weapons and became immune to them. It studied enemy tactics and developed counters. It had done this for 1,000,000 years, against species far older and more advanced than these, humans, but it could not adapt to weapons that existed in multiple dimensions at once. It could not counter tactics that used fold space as a battlefield. It could not study technology that broke the laws of physics the swarm was built to. Understand, for the first time in its existence, the swarm was losing. Captain Taiwu commanded the assault wing. His ships dove into the heart of the swarm, releasing weapons that created miniature black holes. The black holes pulled swarm units into themselves and crushed them into nothing. Fleet. Commander Wusung commanded the heavy battleships. His vessels fired beams that did not just destroy matter, but erased it from existence. Swarm units touched by those beams did not explode or burn. They simply stopped being. Chief Engineer Bora commanded the support ships. Her vessels projected fields that disrupted the swarm's communication network, turning the unified machine intelligence into millions of confused individual units, and Supreme Commander Yuna commanded them all. She stood on the bridge of the dawn and watched her people take apart the most dangerous weapon the galaxy had ever known. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the swarm was gone. Not defeated, not driven away, gone. Every single unit destroyed, erased, eliminated. The Valkyrie homeworld was safe. 12 billion people were alive because humanity had returned. Yuna opened a channel to the galaxy once again. Her face appeared on every screen, in every ship, on every world. 5 years ago, you voted to banish us. You called us dangerous. You called us aggressive. You called us a threat to galactic peace. She paused to let the words sink in. You were right. We are dangerous. We are aggressive. We are everything you said we were. But we were never your enemy. You made us one. She leaned forward and her eyes were hard. The Galactic Council no longer has any authority over humanity. We do not recognize your laws. We do not accept your restrictions. We will go where we want, do what we want, and build what we want. Anyone who tries to stop us will learn exactly how dangerous we can be. She straightened. But we are not here to conquer you. We are not here to destroy you. We are here because 12 billion Valkyrie were about to die, and we were the only ones who could save them. You may hate us. You may fear us. But when the galaxy needed help, we were the ones who answered. She let that sit for a moment. Here are our terms. The terms were simple. Humanity would not rejoin the Galactic Council. They would establish their own nation, the human cardet, existing in both normal space and fold space. Human colonies would be returned. Plus, additional territory as compensation for wrongful banishment. There would be no restrictions on human technology. There would be no limits on human expansion. There would be no oversight, no supervision, no control. These terms are not negotiable, Yuna said. You can accept them and live in peace with us. Or you can reject them and see what happens. The choice is yours. She ended the transmission. The galaxy was silent. In the council chamber. Counselor Jasu stared at the empty display where Yuna's face had been. Around her, the representatives were in shock. Some were angry. Some were terrified. Some were both. The Valkyrie delegate who had led the vote to banish humanity sat in his seat and did not move. He had called humans dangerous. He had called them a threat. He had wanted them gone. Now they were back, and they had saved his people, and they were more powerful than he had ever imagined. He did not know whether to thank them or fear them. He decided to do both. The Galactic Council debated humanity's terms for 3 days. They argued and shouted and threatened. They formed alliances and broke them. They made speeches about pride and honor and the need to stand firm against human arrogance. In the end, none of it mattered. The Valkyrie were the first to break. Their delegate stood before the council and announced that his people would accept humanity's terms immediately and unconditionally. They saved us, he said simply. 12 billion of my people are alive because of them. We will not raise a hand against our saviors. They are dictating terms to us, another delegate protested. They are treating us like defeated enemies. We are defeated enemies. We banished them, and they came back stronger than any of us imagined. We sent them away thinking we were punishing them. Instead, we set them free. The Valkyrie looked around the chamber. I led the vote to banish humanity. It was the greatest mistake of my life. I will not make another one. He walked out of the chamber. Within an hour, the Velthri had signed a formal alliance with the human Concordat. Others followed. The Kethrani joined because they wanted access to fold space technology. The Zelith joined because they needed help rebuilding after their civil war. The Rashani joined because human doctors had cured their plague once before and could do it again, one by one. Species left the Galactic Council and joined humanity's new order. They did not do it because they were forced. They did it because they understood something that the Council still refused to accept. Humanity was the future. The Council was the past. Ambassador Hyon returned to the Council's capital to conduct negotiations. She was polite and professional, but she did not pretend that the humans and the Council were equals. They were not, and everyone knew it. You cannot simply take territory that belongs to other species, the remaining Council members protested. We are not taking it. We are reclaiming what was ours plus compensation for 5 years of wrongful banishment. If you had not voted to exile us, this would not be happening. The territories you are demanding are 3 times the size of your original colonies. Then you should have thought about that before you took our original colonies. Hyon smiled. It was a diplomatic smile, but there was steel behind it. You have 2 choices. Accept our terms and have peace with a neighbor who will trade with you, protect you, and help you grow. Or reject our terms and have war with a neighbor who will crush you in a week. She folded her hands. I am not being dramatic. I am being honest. We do not want war. But if you force one on us, we will end it very quickly. And the terms after that will be much worse than these. The Council accepted the terms. The Human Conet officially came into existence on the 1st anniversary of humanity's return. It was a nation like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. It existed in 2 dimensions at once, with cities in normal space and cities in fold space, connected by gates that civilians used as easily as elevators. Director Minho became the first president of the Concordat. He stood before a crowd of 3 billion humans and addressed them as a free people. We were banished because they feared what we might become. They were right to fear. Look at what we have become. Look at what we have built. Look at what we will build tomorrow. He raised his fist. We are humanity. We do not accept limits. We do not accept cages. We do not accept the word impossible. We take it as a challenge. The crowd roared. Supreme Commander Yuna retired from military service after the Concordat was established. She had spent 5 years preparing for war. Now she wanted to prepare for peace. She was sitting in her garden on the colony of New Bizan when Lieutenant Hedgen came to visit her. He was a young officer, born in fold space during the exile, and he had never seen the old galaxy. Ma'am, I wanted to thank you, he said, for bringing us home. We are not home yet, Yuna replied. Home is not a place. Home is a feeling. It will take time before we feel at home in the galaxy again. Do you think we ever will? Yuna looked up at the sky. Real sky with real stars, not the engineered spaces of fold space. It had been 5 years since she had seen it. I think we will build a home that is better than anything we had before. That is what humans do. We take our pain and we turn it into strength. We take our exile and we turn it into empire. She smiled at the young lieutenant. The Council banished us because they thought we were reaching too far, too fast. They were right. That is exactly what we do. And now, nothing in the galaxy can stop us from doing it. 100 years passed. The Galactic Council still existed, but it was a shadow of what it had once been. Most species had left to join the human Concordat or one of its allied nations. The few that remained were old and tired and set in their ways. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had not needed to. They had simply offered a better future. And the galaxy had accepted. Fold space gates connected worlds across millions of light years. Human technology powered civilizations that had existed before Earth was born. Human ideas shaped the culture and philosophy of 1,000 species. And in a university on what had once been the Council's capital world, Professor Yunji taught a class on galactic history. Her students were a mix of humans and aliens, young minds from across known space. The banishment, she said. is the most important event in the past 1,000 years of galactic history. It is the moment when everything changed. She walked among the desks, looking at her students. The Galactic Council believed they were punishing humanity. They believed that isolation would diminish us, weaken us, teach us our place. She smiled. They did not understand the most basic truth about our species. She stopped at the window and looked out at the city. Fold space gates glittered among the stars, the visible symbol of humanity's gift to the galaxy. Tell a human they cannot do something, and they will move heaven and earth to prove you wrong. Tell them they are not welcome, and they will build their own kingdom. Tell them they have limits, and they will shatter every limit you can name. She turned back to her students. The council made us exiles. We made ourselves an empire. They tried to contain us. We became uncontainable. They wanted us to disappear. She smiled, and in her smile was the pride of a species that had refused to break. Instead, we became eternal. The students were quiet. Then one of them, a young Velthari, raised his hand. Professor, do you think the council was wrong to fear humanity? Yunji thought about it. She thought about the wars humanity had ended, the plagues they had cured, the technologies they had shared. She thought about the swarm they had destroyed, the civilizations they had saved, the futures they had built. She also thought about the fleet that had emerged from Fold Space 5 years after the banishment, 200 ships of impossible power. She thought about the terms they had dictated to a galaxy that had no choice but to accept. She thought about what humanity would do if anyone ever threatened them again. No, she said finally. The council was not wrong to fear us. They were wrong to think that fear gave them the right to banish us. They were wrong to think that banishing us would make them safe. She looked at the Velthari student with kind but serious eyes. Fear is a reasonable response to humanity. Aggression is not, the student nodded slowly. Class dismissed, Yunji said. Read chapter 14 for next week. We will be discussing the formation of the human cardet and its impact on galactic trade. The students filed out. Yunji stayed at the window, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity was building new worlds, exploring new dimensions, reaching for new heights. They were doing what they had always done. They were refusing to accept limits. The Galactic Council had voted to banish Earth, humanity, had not waited to be told twice, and the galaxy would never be the same.